Trump presidency in the effort to find a solution for dreamers while reforming the way immigration is handled here in the U.S.
Joining us now is South Florida Congressman, Republican Mario DiazBalart. Congressman, so good to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining us. And we know that you were in that extraordinary meeting today with the president. What did you make of it? And what are the prospects for getting a deal on the dreamers?
You know, I've been dealing with this issue for a long time. I think this was potentially the most productive meeting of its kind that I've ever been involved with. And I think we have to give a lot of the credit to President Trump. I think we have an opportunity to finally have a process where those dreamers, those DACA individuals can be here permanently, legally. And that's going to entail then having to do some other things, like obviously having a more secure border, dealing with modernizing our visa issue, dealing with which was commonly known as chain migration. And also dealing with this issue that has gotten a lot of news coverage recently, which is this lottery visa program that has created some issues, particularly in the recent past. Dealing with all those issues together, we should be able to, again, have a process where these individuals who are here can stay here, they can be permanently here, they can, again, be incorporated into the United States. Again, these are folks that did not make the decision to come here illegally, and therefore they should not be punished for the actions of others.
All right, Congressman, that leads us to the idea of comprehensive immigration reform. The president says we're close, that he wants it. Do you see that happening?
Well, look, I think if we can get this done, and this is a heavy lift, but I think we have a shot to get this done. If we get this done, and then I think that would be a great platform to then tackle the rest of the immigration system that is absolutely broken. So first and foremost, we have to focus on this. You know, we have these deadlines, important deadlines, because the DACA program goes away in March. So that's the urgency of this, and there is that urgency being felt by the president and the members of both parties here in the House and the Senate. We got to get that done first, but I am optimistic that we can do this. And if we do this, and then I think hopefully we'll be able to get other big things done in a bipartisan way.
Congressman, there's been so much talk lately about the president's fitness for office, about his attention to the details of the presidency. What were your impressions of the president when you were with him today? Was this someone, in your opinion, who is fit for office?
You know, I've dealt with him on a number of difficult issues, and I've had multiple meetings with him, and I will tell you, he always impresses. He is aware of details. He likes to get different ideas and throw things out there, pretty much what a business person does in a board meeting. And I think, you know, what was unprecedented about this meeting was that most of it was public. It was open. The press was there. And I think the American people saw with their own eyes a person who is capable, who knows what he's talking about, who knows how to get folks to talk and negotiate. So I think all those rumors, all that innuendo, I think that probably has just gone away because the American people saw the president that I've dealt with. This is a guy who knows how to cut deals, who likes to negotiate, get big things done. And I think any assertion to the contrary was blown away from what we saw, what I've seen before in private, and what a lot of the American people, I think, saw today in public because the press was in that meeting.
Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, sir. And look for much more on the immigration effort tonight on the CBS Evening News with Jeff Glor. That's at 6:30 after the CBS4 News at 6.